it is time for our new seasonal banner, and according to the silhouettes, I think we're getting a new Claude and possibly Fuga from Fates as well. But let's go ahead and jump in and see exactly what we're dealing with. I'm excited to see what kind of new seasonal banner we're getting. Okay, first up is Claude, of course, and he is looking great. Oh my god. Okay, let's start at the top with his preference weapon, Playful Pinwheel. Okay, we have an insane weapon here. Essentially what you're getting is you're getting Slaying, and then at start of turn, Claude will give himself a visible bonus of no follow-up and no panic. And then at start of combat, if his HP is greater than or equal to 25%, he's going to get plus $5 stats during combat, pretty typical there. But he's also going to get a bonus to his attack and speed during combat, equaling the number of bonus effects active on him and penalty effects active on the foe times 2. And there's no cap. So this is very similar to like Brave Crom last year, but the difference was that Brave Crom considered the penalties and the bonuses on himself, while Claude will be mostly focusing on the bonuses himself and then the penalties on the foe. And then obviously this does not consider stat bonuses, right? So this isn't like the plus $6 stats or anything like that. This is like having no follow-up on Claude, or like no panic, or like, you know, treachery, or any of those kind of effects that you can see the little visible icon for. That's what he's looking for. And then the same is true for the enemy, where you're looking for like panic on them, or like the guard icon or something like that, right? But it has no cap, so you can get a ton of attack and speed here by just having the right synergy of teams. Like a unit like Asker could just give out a ton of stats. But then it gets a lot crazier. So then he also can grant himself special cooldown count minus X before his first attack, and special cooldown count minus Y before his follow-up attack. Now let's break this down a bit, what this actually means. So this is essentially like the dual Ike effect, right? Or like the Brave Tiki effect, where you get special cooldown before your first attack. It's the same kind of effect that you get with Rally Spectrum. But Claude's is a bit different because it's actually based off the amount of bonus effects he has active on himself, not counting the stat bonuses, right? So just with the basic weapon he has no follow-up and no panic, so that would be -2 before his first attack. So with lethality, right, it's only going to be at 3 cooldown, so that would put it down to 1. But if you have just 1 extra bonus on Claude, right, let's say you're running running Asker or something, right, you're getting 2, you're going to get -3 or -4 special cooldown, which is nuts. So you can just have an instant lethality on the first hit if you want, which is really, really powerful, though Hardy Fighter can cause some problems there. But then it keeps going. And so you also get special cooldown count minus Y before your first follow-up attack. And then Y is going to equal the number of bonus effects you have minus the special cooldown count you had at the start of combat. So this is once again a little bit complicated, but like let's just say you're going into combat, right? You're running lethality. Your special cooldown at the beginning of combat is 3. So then you're going to have the amount of effects you have -3. So you need to have a good amount of effects active to get another pre-charge lethality on the second hit, right? Typically you're only going to have 2, so you're not going to really get all that much. But if you set it up correctly, Claude can pretty much like go in, hit with the lethality, and then on the second attack also hit with another lethality, which is really, really horrifying and extremely powerful. And what this really does is allow Claude to get around some of the weaknesses that flyers have, right? With special cooldown, he pretty much just has a way to built in his weapon where he can just spam lethalities or other cooldowns as well. Like you don't even need to use lethality necessarily. But then we move on to this new A skill, Attack Speed Prime 4. And what this essentially does is it's going to give you attack and speed plus X, where X is the number of bonus effects again, but not with the stats. Just like before with his base weapon, right? So he's giving himself no panic and no follow-up. That's 2 bonus effects, and then +3. So that would be 2 times 2 plus 3, right? So that'd be 7. So you would need 3 bonus effects to get the full amount of stats, which would be 9. But also, if you have 4 or more bonus effects active on you, you get Close Counter, which is really, really, really insane and powerful. I'm really glad to see a new type of close counter add to the game, though it is a bit situational, right? It's definitely going to require some like team building to actually have it active all the time, and things like Dual Thor could shut it down as well, because she can just turn off all your bonus effects. So that is something you're going to have to consider. But overall, this is a very, very powerful A skill. It looks really cool, and it obviously synergizes really well with Claude's kit. Okay, so we have Claude's new preference B skill, Deep Star. And what this does is it gives you Canto 1, and then if Claude initiates combat or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, he's going to inflict speed and defense -5 on the foe, and he's also going to reduce damage from the foe's first attack by X%. If he initiates combat, X is going to be 80, right? But if the foe initiates combat, it's going to be 30. And it stacks with other types of damage reduction, which is pretty typical. But it also has the Brave effect. So we've been seeing this on the newer units where the first attack is actually considered 2 attacks if it is a Brave attack. So that's very, very good for him. And then also just like Fallen Star before it, it also is going to give Claude a visible bonus called Deep Star, and it's also going to inflict gravity on the target and foes within 1 space. And then Deep Star is essentially the same as Fallen Star, right? You're still getting that 80% damage reduction against the first combat, but it works with Brave attacks as well. So it's a little bit upgraded. So once again, IS gives a new preference skill for their favorites, and it is quite powerful. You're getting stats, you're getting damage reduction on both phases and Canto 1. Like, this is a very powerful preference B skill, and it's going to make Claude pretty difficult to kill and also very deadly. When it comes to roles, obviously Claude wants to do two. He wants to be a nuke and sort of a tank, right? He wants to be able to go in, kill things with just throwing lethalities in their face, but then he also wants to be able to take damage and just be able to take hits, right? And because he has a built-in new close counter, he can do that. He can retaliate with some big hits, destroy some people, and he also has a damage reduction to protect himself, which is really important as well. The one thing you do have to consider though is this is all pierceable damage reduction, so you can get through it with like things like Deadeye or Lethality or anything like that. But even so, it's going to make Claude an amazing nuker. He's also going to be able to take a good hit most of the time. When it comes to game modes, I can see Claude being used in Ether 8's offense as like a hit and run unit very well, right? He can go in, kill a ton of things with this lethality spam, put gravity on everybody, and then get out. And then if you don't even want to go for like the close counter build, you could even put Flared Sparrow there, and then you can put some fire down, which will make it even more difficult to get to Claude. It's possible that he ends up on Ether 8's defense as well. He is a flyer, so that means he can run things like Guidance 4 or like Soaring Guidance, which can allow him to like create some traps on Ether 8's defense. And he's also going to be able to hit really hard. He's going to be not the easiest thing to kill. So I could definitely see him being there on Ether 8's defense as well. And then finally, when it comes to Summer Duels, of course, Claude's going to be great there. The thing is with Claude in Summer Duels is that you have to remember that like Fallen Star, the way it interacts is that the damage reduction gets turned off between turns, right? So that is something you're going to have to consider. Even so, though, he can be very powerful. We've seen like Summer Claude do really well in Summer Duels when the right person is piloting him, and I assume it will be the same with this new Wind Tribe Claude as well. Okay, let's move on to the next unit. It's Dagr. That is not who I expected at all. Holy crap. Wow, her art's pretty good though. I like it. It's very stylized. And let's start off at the top with her preference weapon, Fujin Uchiwa. Okay, so we have Slaying, and then at start of combat, if Dagr's HP is greater than 25%, she's going to get attack speed, defense, and resistance plus X to herself, X equaling 5, plus the greater of either her visible bonuses, right, those visible stat bonuses, or the foe's current visible bonuses, and they're each calculated independently. So that's going to be pretty good. You can get like up to plus 12 to all stats technically. Typically, you'll get plus 11 though. But then you'll also be able to inflict a penalty on the foe's attack speed, defense, and resistance equal to the current bonus they have on each of their stats. So once again, you're kind of like able to do the same thing that Duo Dagr has, where like you can kind of take advantage of them having visible bonuses, but at the same time you get bonuses. At the same time, you get stats for having your own visible bonuses, so it's actually quite powerful, and you can have some really massive stat swings with a weapon like this. Then the other thing, of course, is that you do get to reduce damage from the foe's first attack by 40%, and you get special cooldown charge plus 1 per attack. So this is going to allow Dagr to hit quite hard, and it should be quite the massive stat ball in the right situations, but you do have to remember some of this is dependent on the enemy running visible bonuses, which isn't always the case. Now the good thing is that the base effect that gives stats is based off either the foe or Dagr's own visible bonuses, so you can always rely on those, but the second part is dependent on the foe running stats, which isn't always the case. Now let's move on to her new preference B skill, Twin Sky Wing. So what essentially this does is that Dagr can give Pathfinder to her support partner, but if there's more than one support partner, so if you try to do a thing where like you have her with multiple of the same ally, it won't work. So you can only give it out to one unit. Even so, that's extremely powerful. And then also, if her HP is greater than 25%, she's going to get speed and defense minus 5 on the foe, and then she's also going to get no follow-up, full no follow-up. And then she herself has Pathfinder. This is pretty similar to Dagr's normal PRF skill, but they added that level of support where you can give out Pathfinder. And this is extremely powerful because currently in the meta, you have essentially 3 units with Pathfinder. You have Dagr, Knot, and then Duo Dagr. And Duo Dagr can give out Pathfinder to the entire team, but it's on a duo button, and it's only once. You can't do it more than once per map. But with this, you can do it every single turn. And what this means is that you can essentially have 2 Pathfinder units at all times by only running Dagr. And that's pretty horrifying. It really does extend the amount of like mobility you have on the map and how much threat range you can really put out. So this is a really powerful preference B skill. The question is like, how powerful is Dagr themselves, right? I don't think she doesn't look as strong as something as like T-Ira or like Summer Shez when it comes to damage, but that support cannot be underestimated, and it can work really well on like Congo lines and like in Summer Duels and stuff like that, right? So I think this unit's gonna be pretty scary. Now, when it comes to roles, obviously Dagr is a support and a nuke. She wants to go in, she wants to destroy things with her accelerated special and just have a ton of stats and just overrun them. And then she also wants to give that support with the Pathfinder effect, right? Now, when it comes to game modes, typically you're not going to be able to use this everywhere. You could definitely use it in Ether 8's offense if you want to do some hit and run stuff, right? You can give out Pathfinder and like try to go in, hit something, and get out. There's a lot of like Cav teams that do that with like either T-Ira or like Brave Self and Brave Crom, right? So it's something we've seen before. But typically, I think this is going to mostly be used in Summer Duels, as Pathfinder really can be very powerful in that game mode on the right strategies. So I think it's going to be pretty cool to just be able to have a unit who can give out Pathfinder every single turn to not only herself, but to an ally as well. Now the thing is, this is a visible bonus she's giving out to her ally, so it can be turned off once again by Duo Thor, so that's something you have to consider. But even so, unlike Duo Dagr where you pop it once and then Duo Thor turns off the whole thing and you just don't get to use it anymore, this is going to be a constant threat every single turn. So that's going to be very powerful and something you're definitely going to have to consider. This unit is looking pretty good. Let's move on to our next unit. Our demo is that Catria? Why does Catria get so much love? Anyways, let's check out her new inheritable bow, White Wind Bow. Essentially what this does is you get effective against flying, and at start of turn, if her HP is greater than 25%, she's going to give herself no follow-up and no panic, so very similar to the Wind Claude. And then also she can give herself attack and speed plus X during combat, X equaling the number of bonus effects active on unit, and the penalty effects active on foe. And once again, it has no cap, just like Claude. So at base, you're going to be able to get, what, like 9 attack and speed, which is pretty strong, right? But you could stack more and get even more attack and speed. So this is actually a really nice inheritable bow. I still don't think it's as powerful as like the arcane bows. I think both arcane bows are probably better than this. But this is something you should definitely not underestimate. And if you're going to be using a team who needs visible bonuses, this is a way to get them, right? Now, typically they'll only be on Catria, but if you're using someone like Brave Crom, he can steal those and get no panic and no follow-up, which are quite nice. The other thing, of course, is the fodder. We have attack speed catch 3, which is nice, but I do wish there was something more rare. We do have a few ways to get attack speed catch 3 nowadays. So I wish it was like something really rare, so you feel like you'd want to pull for that fodder. The other thing is SD far trace, which is good. It's definitely solid, but it's not as powerful as it once was. Okay, let's move on to our final unit of the banner. Who is going to be the duo and harmonic? I think it has to be Fuga. No, Fuga's probably the free-to-play unit. There's no way he's the harmonic. It's Orochi and Kagero. Why? Are you serious? We got Thief, Nina, and Kagero last year. Was it last year or was it the year before? It was last year, right? Okay, I feel kind of weird about this banner. They're just giving ults to these characters who already have 1,000,000 ults. Okay, let's start at the top with their preference weapon, Bright Winds Fans. Okay, so what this essentially does is you get enables Canto Distance Max 3. So this is the same kind of Canto where that Ira had, right? Where the more you move, the more Canto you get. Now, it's not quite as much, obviously, right? You're only going to get 3. But 3 is a lot of Canto, especially with a ranged unit, because you don't have to go as far in. So that's already quite powerful, right? You get Slaying, you get all stats plus 5, pretty typical. You'll also get attack and speed plus X to unit, where X is 20% of her speed at start of combat. So that's going to be the visible actual speed stat at the beginning of combat. You're going to also get anti-guard, and then also if she initiates combat, you're going to get 50% damage reduction against the first attack, and you get an Ice Mirror effect, where you deal damage equal to the total damage you reduced, not only from the amount of damage you reduced from the weapon, but also any other effect, right? So if you have like Remote Sparrow, or like some kind of other damage reduction source, it will also count that as well. So it's like that super powerful Ice Mirror effect. Okay, here it is. We all knew this was coming when they announced the Magic Trap. Here is Disarm Trap 4. Let's see what this does. Okay, so what this essentially does is you get speed defense minus 4, you get offensive no follow-up, and then while you're in Eat the Reds, if you end your movement on a trap, if it's a bolt trap or a heavy trap, you just immediately cancel it, so just like Disarm Trap 3. But if it's a Hex trap, you reduce the trap's trigger condition by 10. So we all knew that at some point Hex trap would get nerfed by Disarm Trap 4. Every single person ever called it when they saw the trap, so this isn't really surprising. Right now, Hex trap's max HP, I believe, is 65, so you need 66 or more HP. So with Disarm Trap 4, it would take it down by 10, so you would need 56 or more HP. And if you're running triple mythic, that's 15 HP, right? So you need like 41 HP or more, which is pretty easy to get. Most units come with 40 HP. All you really need to do is like have some Dragon Flowers or a Merge or something like that, and you'll pretty easily hit the Disarm Trap for new Hex traps nowadays. So this is quite powerful of a skill, especially for ETH raids and for hit and run. Okay, and then we have the duo skill. So essentially what this does is you get cooldown count minus 1. You also get 1 extra space of movement on a ranged unit, which is nuts. And then you also get to neutralize the foe's bonuses during the combat for 1 turn. This is a pretty powerful duo skill. It's going to give you the things you want. One of the things Kagero could struggle with is getting off lethality pretty consistently, right? It's a 3 cooldown special, and she's not infantry, and she doesn't have any type of special acceleration built into her weapon, so that is something to consider. The extra movement is just bonkers. Like, anytime you get extra movement, it's always strong. When you get on a ranged unit, it's even scarier, especially when they have Canto Distance, right? It lets you just go in, destroy something, and get out, just like Thief Nina before her. And then also you get a neutralize opposed bonuses, which is always nice as well. And the craziest thing is you can use this more than once, right? You can do it every third turn. You can activate this again. So that means you could like stall for time and then fully charge lethality, or you could just like recharge after using lethality. Either way, this is going to allow you to just apply a lot of pressure throughout each turn, as long as Kagero is still alive, obviously. Okay, let's talk about roles. When it comes to Kagero's role, it's very obvious what she wants to do. She is a nuke. She wants to play hit and run strategies. That's what she's going to be doing. She's going to go in, destroy something, and then get out of there with her Kanto. That's pretty much the whole gimmick of what she's trying to do. Very, very similar to Thief Nina before her. It's just kind of weird to me that they made a unit who's the exact same movement type, the exact same weapon, and they're both Kageros. They're just 1 year apart. They even have the same roles. Like, it's a little bit weird. When it comes to game modes, Kagero really wants to play Ether Raid's offense, right? Disarm Trap 4 is going to allow her to hit and run much more effectively. And then also she's going to do really well in Summoner Duels, as she does have like that renewable extra movement every third turn. So you should be able to use it, what, like 2 to 3 times per every SD match, which is really strong. It's something you shouldn't underestimate. She also comes with Colorless View 3, which is a very meta skill at the moment for Summoner Duels in particular, because it can shut down Fall Maria, who is pretty much everywhere. Okay, let's move on to the final question. Should you pull? When it comes to some of the pros, obviously there's some very powerful units here. Claude seems a bit ridiculous, and then so do the other units as well, but they all seem to be kind of playing into this hit and run strategy. It seems IS is trying to push that a bit more now, and it is very prevalent in the meta, as tanking and gale forcing have become much more difficult. So if you are a big hit and run enthusiast, there is some very powerful units and fun units to play with here. You also get some really amazing fodder with a new attack speed prime 4, which is essentially an improved close counter, as well as disarm trap 4 on Kagero. So there's some great fodder there if you want to go for that as well. Now when it comes to the cons, we just got Choose Your Legend 7, so I think a lot of people are orb broke right now, and so, you know, it's kind of hard to like fit a budget of getting orbs to spend here. Now obviously if these are your favorite units, go for it. But I think that there are just a ton of good banners to spend orbs on right now, including Choose Your Legends, and then also the legendary Lear banner. We also have a new Heroes banner coming up very soon as well, and there's even Halloween next month. So there's a lot of good banners coming up, and I think if you aren't like an enthusiast of these characters, like if these aren't your favorite characters ever, then this is a pretty easy skip in my opinion. I think these units will be very strong, and we'll definitely see them like in Summoner Duels, and maybe in some like other game modes as well, but I don't think they're like meta dominant. I don't think these are the units that are going to shape the entire meta, as a lot of them can be shut down in different ways with like Kanto control, or just some very powerful far saves, right? I think there's just a lot of ways to counter some of these units. Out of this batch, I think Claude is probably just the most powerful when it comes to nuking, but when Dagr's like support should definitely not be underestimated. I think that could be very slept on and could be very powerful. The problem is that she is like a red sword cav, which is very prevalent in just all different types of forms, right? We have Brave Self, T-Ira, and Summer Shez, who are all powerful options for that. You could even say like Summer Ephraim too could fulfill that role. So it's kind of difficult to go for that role unless you really love Pathfinder and you really want to take advantage of that strategy. So my overall thoughts on the banner is, this is a pretty good banner. There's some unique stuff here, some fun stuff here, but I don't think any of these are must pulls. And so if you want to save some orbs, or you just want to give your wallet a chance to breathe, I think it's an easy banner to skip. But now I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of this banner? Do you think these units are extremely powerful? Are you going to be pulling on this banner? And what do you think about the choice of heroes on this banner? Because I think it's a tad bit weird what they went with. Either way, make sure to drop a comment down below letting me know. And as always, I'd like to thank my members for all their constant support. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you all later.